Alrighty, Team Chain Block with yet another deck profile. We'll shake things up soon. We have Sean, and Sean, what did you take to locals recently?
I took UnderWorld to celebrate the release of the new structure deck.
Yeah.
And it really outperformed my expectations. I was surprised with how well it did.
Yeah, like a lot of people were really excited for this, and I didn't see it, but I see it now. So let's get straight into it.
Sure. So first things first, we play 3 Grapha.
Yeah.
Just the big boss of the deck.
Yeah.
It's good removal, and it pretty much cycles with the next card for like infinite material.
Lovely. Good stuff.
Which is 3 of the new Rainbow return.
Yeah.
So this, when it's sent to grave, you can search a level 5 or higher UnderWorld. So
yeah.
And basically, the way these work is you can special this from your grave by returning a level 7 or lower UnderWorld. Cool. And you can summon this from grave by returning any face-up UnderWorld.
Yeah.
So you summon anything that's level 7 or lower. You bounce it with this, and then you bounce this with that.
It's just infinite.
So you just keep everything in hand.
Really,
really strong resources for linking.
Yeah.
These are both level 8, which comes up.
I'm sure it does.
Then 3 Silva.
Right.
This one is really strong. It basically just summons itself for free if it's discarded.
Right.
But if it's discarded by your opponent's card effect, you return 2 cards from their hand to the bottom of their deck.
That's
which disgusting. Is it's a very strong form of hand looping.
Yeah.
Because in like modern Yu-Gi-Oh, a lot of things, if you discard them, are just going to trigger.
Oh,
this just puts them back to deck.
Yeah.
Then
did that come up with that?
It came up a lot. Yeah. You kind of shoot for that with your main combo.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
So then we play 3 Snow.
Yeah, he's the
this is just Searcher. Yep. Yeah. And then if your opponent discards it, you can summon a card from their grave to your field.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. They all have 2 effects basically. One when discarded, and one when discarded by your opponent.
Yeah.
This one, when it's discarded by your opponent, you can special a level 4 or lower UnderWorld from your deck or graveyard to either field.
That's
which is important.
Very relevant.
And this one lets you look at a card in your opponent's hand, and if it's a monster, you special summon it to your field.
Yeah. Like some of the other, like that, I think that was like ironically the most expensive UnderWorld. Like some of them, like it's just such a great reprint set. The level 4s in this set were so expensive.
Oh, they're well worth it though. Like
yeah.
The resources that this deck puts up are just crazy. And there's a lot of like varied interaction with the new cards, which is very cool. Then I play 1 Brow.
The draw, is he?
Yeah, he's a draw, and if he's discarded by your opponent, you draw 2.
Ooh.
So he can be pot of grade. He's just a nice 1-of to give you another name to trigger.
Yeah.
Then for the little ones, we play 2 Ceruli. You want to see this because basically when it's summoned, or when it's discarded, it summons to your opponent's side of the field, and then mandatory trigger makes you discard a card. But since it's your opponent's card now, it will trigger the effects of any of these. So this is how you're getting your Silva off turn 1.
Insane.
Which is really strong. And then we play 1 Peril.
Yeah.
So this just lets you target a UnderWorld in your grave when it's discarded and special summon it to either field.
Yeah.
And then if it was discarded by your opponent, you can special summon to either field one of your fiends that is banished or in hand or grave.
Any fiend.
Yeah,
that's
but
insane.
it's really good for just getting back any cards that you banish, especially off gates.
Yeah.
So that's the sort of main set. Very strong lineup.
Yeah.
I think playing a lot of names is very good because it just guarantees good discards, which you want for your dangers. And then I sort of differentiate between those and 3 Genta, 2 Gate.
Yeah.
This just discards to get the field spell. And then the field spell banishes to let you discard a fiend and then draw 1.
Yeah.
Which obviously triggers everything. And then if this is banished once per turn, you can summon it if you control a UnderWorld card, which obviously will.
That's really good.
So,
any UnderWorld card.
Yeah, and it's a 4, so this is a really easy way to serve out rank 4s.
Yeah.
So that's just like a compact engine that's a little bit different because you don't necessarily want to discard this.
Yeah.
But I think it's really good. It's a great way to get through your deck quickly. Then I played 2 Accession.
Right.
So this is a fusion spell where if you're summoning the UnderWorld fusion, you can discard monsters as material. And then otherwise you can banish them from field or grave. So even if you discard the materials you want to use, it's fine. But you trigger them off this. And then if this is in your grave, you can discard a Dark World monster to return to hand.
Yeah. And quick effect as well, which is insane.
Yeah.
Just an added bonus. And I think one of the boys in the team chain block group chat said it's just a generic Fiend fusion card, which is really good. I'm sure that will pop up at some stage.
I can see this card seeing a lot of play in the future when we get some better Fiend fusions, but right now, there's only one you need to summon.
That's it.
And it's perfect for that. And then the last bit of Dark World support is play the 1 Archives.
Yeah.
So during your main phase, you can discard a Dark World monster to make your other Dark World monsters gain attack equal to the level times 100.
Yeah, that's really good.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
But if you discard a Fiend by the effect of a Dark World card or an opponent's card, you can discard 1 and then draw 2.
Yeah.
So it lets you trigger a discard once you've already discarded, and then it's pot upgrade.
Yeah.
It's really
good card.
Then 3 of the TCG exclusive that really breaks the deck.
Oh, is this TCG?
It is. Salamander Catalyzer. So this is a common from Darkwing Blast.
Yeah.
And essentially, if you reveal this in hand and another Fiend, you can special summon one of them and discard the other.
Yeah.
So you can trigger Dark World to summon this, or if you want to get a big guy out, you discard this to do so.
Yeah, like, I did it myself, like, the amount of people searching their bulk for this card, it's so good.
Oh, yeah, no, I went through my boxes. And then, while it's in grave, if you destroy a monster by battle with your Fiend, or if your Fiend is destroyed by battle, you can add it back to hand.
So good.
So it recurs itself as well.
Yeah.
You play 3 because it's not searchable, you just want to see it early.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a really great combo starter, and again, level 4.
It's been like the most bought card in Card Marker for like a month.
I can definitely see why. So that's sort of the Fiends out of the way. Then obviously for this deck you want to play a huge amount of dangers because
amazing reprints.
They're big bodies.
Yeah.
They summon for free, they discard, and they draw. It's insane, and then they all have utility effects.
Yeah.
So level 8s are super important for your extra.
Yeah.
So we play 3 each of the good 8s.
Yeah.
A lot of people are playing Ogopogo, but that card sucks. So just don't play it.
Yeah, it does.
These are insane going second as well. So this one, if it's discarded, pops a set.
Yeah.
And this one pops a face-up card.
Yeah.
And then obviously they all have the danger effect of randomly discarding a card, summoned, and drawing one.
Yeah.
And then they're also just big.
They're so good. They're spell trap and monster removal.
They're great going first if you resolve them because they're just big 8s to put on field.
Yeah.
And going second, they like completely crush through boards.
Oh yeah. The amount of times I've had one Bigfoot or one Thunderbird in hand and discarded it on purpose.
Then I played 2 Nessie.
Yeah.
3 was kind of rough because you were seeing a lot of multiples of dangers, which is fine with the big ones because you just keep going through them because the 8 is valuable enough that you're willing to.
Yeah.
But you don't want to miss on a Nessie so much. So I thought 2 was fine as well. You just kind of... There's a lot of cards you want to play in this deck.
Is Nessie the only level 7?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't really want a 7. So that's the other thing.
Nessie's really good.
And it's got a low attack stat, which funnily enough does matter in this deck.
Oh, right.
Then we play 1 Mothman.
Yeah.
Historically, Mothman is really good in danger decks because the miss effect lets you discard and then draw. So it's basically dealings.
Yeah.
But we are in tier format. So you don't want your opponent discarding. So
1 is enough.
Yeah, 1 is fine. It's an extra name. You search it off Nessie, and it's a 4.
Yeah. It's
then 1 each. Jack and Such, we'd play 3 if you could.
Exactly.
Great cards.
There's a reason to 1.
And then 1 Callboy.
Every day.
Yep.
Yeah.
And just... Especially in this deck, you kind of do die to hand traps, especially like shifter draw, that kind of thing. So you wanna play this.
Yeah, and here we go.
The spice for this deck in particular, it's a card that's been talked up a lot this format as a side deck tech against Ishizu tier.
But every Dark World deck you don't see
terrible, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to draw it,
and
and you want the copies in deck, but you can only play 3, and especially since people are siding it, so you're not even having it game 1.
Yeah.
So this is Neko Main King, right? So during your opponent's turn, when it's sent to grave by one of your opponent's spell trapper monster effects, your opponent's turn ends. Just ends.
Yeah.
They don't get to do anything. They finish their chain and then it's over. So people like to use this against the Ishizus because once they mill it, they lose their turn.
Yeah.
This deck guarantees a proc of this card on your opponent's turn if you draw, which means it's no longer bad to draw, it's insane to draw.
Yeah.
And it doesn't just hit a Shizu tier anymore. It hits any deck if you draw it.
I think every deck in Yu-Gi-Oh needs their turn.
So, yeah, it's kind of crazy. I pulled this off a couple of times at locals.
Yeah.
Insane. Just ridiculous. I actually might take this deck to an event, given just how strong this interaction is. And that's, made possible because of the extra. So that rounds out the main. For the extra,
40 card main?
I think it was 42, 43.
Yeah.
You don't care too much because of how much you get to draw.
Exactly.
You could play 45 and really not feel the difference.
Yeah, I've seen people play 60.
Yeah, you could play 60.
Yeah.
I just want to see the Neko Man.
Exactly.
If I wasn't playing Neko Man, I'd probably play 50.
Yeah.
Just bump up the dangers. So then, one Dweller, have to play at this format. One Maguska, have to play at this format.
Yeah.
One Dugaris. This card is crazy in this deck. It's a revive. It's a
Boost.
attack doubler.
Draw 2.
And it draws 2 and discards 1 both for card effect.
And it's just for bonus, it's a fiend.
And it's a fiend.
Yeah.
Yes, correct. So this is insane. Does a huge amount for the deck. It's a whole extract toolbox in one card.
Yeah.
It does a lot. Then for your 8s, 138. This is a great interaction going first. It protects your Apo and it negates a spell.
Yeah. They have to attack it. Yeah, exactly.
And this card, very expensive right now.
Yeah. This
Coach King Giant Trainer.
Yeah, I couldn't. Like, the commons of this card went up, like, by 100,000% overnight.
So this card is. It's draw 3 and a time win con.
Yeah.
So what this card says is not once per turn. It requires 3 level 8s.
Yeah.
Detach material, draw a card. If it's a monster, reveal it. Your opponent takes 800.
Yeah. And has one of the best wordings in Yu-Gi-Oh! That's only on like 3 cards. You can use it thrice per turn.
Yeah, just an insane card. This is MVP.
Yeah.
It's how you win in time. It's how you win every game. You make this every single time you can because it just says draw 3.
Yeah, it's insane.
It's great.
There's a reason it was bought out.
Then one Zeus. You play enough Xyzes, you slap it over.
Yeah.
Good going second.
Exactly.
Then 2 of the new fusion.
The boss monster.
Grapha Dragon Overlord. So this requires Grapha and a Dark monster. And when your opponent activates a card effect, while you have a card in your hand, you can make that card's effect become your opponent discards 1 card. Which is how you trigger the Neko Main King on your opponent's turn. You make their card, make you discard 1 as a quick effect. And then they just lose their turn.
That's it.
Also, because again, it's an opponent's card, every single one of your Dark Worlds, your Silva hand loop, everything triggers off of this.
Yeah, all Dark Worlds have this. I think everyone has that a second, like, better effect when it's discarded by your opponent.
And it's not like you only get that, you get both effects.
Yeah,
if
this
it's
is
discarded by an opponent. And then when this leaves the field, you get to summon a Grapha that's banished or in your grave, the main deck one.
Yeah.
And then each player with a hand discards a card. So you get to trigger another card and rip your opponent for another one.
Yeah.
Just a great card. It's also 3/2, so big.
Yeah, that pops up. A lot of stuff that people can summon on their skill drain is usually just clocks out a 3.
The reason this is really big, especially, is a big play right now is using IP to make Underworld Goddess. Because it hard counters a lot of decks, and it's very hard to get over.
Yeah.
That is just enough to get over it.
Yeah.
So then we play a few links.
Yeah.
IP Masquerena, great interaction.
Great card. Will always be good.
Dark.
Yeah.
Bestials are in the format.
They are, unfortunately.
Muckracker.
Yeah. This card shot up as well.
It did. This card is one of the last things you want to do.
Yeah.
Because it locks you into fiends for the rest of the turn, right?
Yeah.
But, as an effect, you get to target a fiend in your grave and discard a card for effect and then special it.
Yeah, again. Any fiend.
Yeah, it's great for that. Really good way to just, end your turn.
Yeah.
If you have some stray monsters and stuff. A lot of people are playing more than one. I don't think you need to because of the lock.
Yeah.
Then one Security Dragon. So while this is co-linked, you can target a monster your opponent controls and return it to the hand. So it's okay removal, but the reason we play it is you get to bounce your Ceruli that you summon to your opponent's field and discard a Silva off.
Yeah.
And then you bounce your Silvas.
It goes back to your hand.
And you put them both back in your hand.
Yeah.
And then you do it again and you rip your opponent for 4. You can play Akashik as well if you want to do that twice. I found making your opponent start with one hand and setting up a bunch of interactions was a little bit better than making them start with... Because a lot of one-card starters right now, I find that having the extra interactions matters more. Also, the extra deck is quite tight.
A full board and then your
but
opponent has
you could definitely play it.
Yeah.
Then one Nightmare Unicorn, great summon off IP, great removal, just good card.
Fiend.
Yeah. And then Appaloosa.
Just insane card.
Stray monsters. You set this up for 4 all the time, and it's how you play through Nib. And then, so use your Skull Dread. Insane for this deck. You turbo out a bunch of monsters, and then you draw 4 and pick the ones you want to keep in your hand.
Yeah.
And it also specials from hand for free, so you get out the big guys, even if you don't have a discard outlet.
Yeah, and Dark Old's are synonymous with summoning loads of stuff, so very easily made.
Yeah, so this card is one of the very few I would say you just can't cut. The extra deck is super flexible based on what you want to play.
Yeah.
I find a lot of these options are sort of too good to give up on.
Yeah.
But the only truly mandatory ones I would say are Saryu, Apo, Dweller, and Giant Trainer.
Yeah.
And the Graph.
Oh, Giant Trainer. Okay.
I think Giant Trainer is
Insane.
mandatory to play. It is the reason this deck isn't just 3 structure decks out the box.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's the extra. Very happy with that. I don't think I'd make any changes.
Fair, yeah, no.
And then the side deck was kind of thrown together just for the event.
Yeah.
I was also quite happy with how this performed. So it was 2 puppetry, basically quick play, targeting 3 cards in either grave, banish them, and then discard a fiend.
Ridiculous.
And then during your main phase, except the turn this card is sent to grave, you can banish it to target a banished fiend and put it back to the hand.
That's really good.
So the main thing you do with this is just blank your opponent's tiers. But you also get to blank their bestials on you by banishing your fiend and then adding it back on your turn.
That's really good.
So that one's really good. And then Brainwashing is a really strong interaction in certain matchups.
Yeah.
I was originally maining this. I eventually decided against it, but I think the card itself is super strong. So when your opponent activates a monster effect, if you have 3 or more cards in hand, you can bounce a Dark World monster on your field, return it to hand, and then your opponent's card effect becomes your opponent randomly discards a card. So again, it triggers all the opponent effects on these. But because it's not once per turn, as long as you retain 3 or more in hand and some cards on field, it just keeps triggering. So against a lot of monster-based decks, you go first, you search your Brainwashing, you summon as many Dark Worlds as you can, you keep 3 in hand, you set the Brainwashing, and you just don't make anything. You just leave 4 or 5 Dark Worlds up, and you blank every card your opponent plays.
Just do it on your opponents.
It's really good. So yeah, you don't play more than 1 because it's searchable, and again, it doesn't come up all too much, but very strong. Triple skill drain, you play a lot of big guys, your opponent needs monster effects more than you do, most of your shit triggers in grave.
Yeah, if you can play skill drain, you at least side it.
Yeah, it's really good.
And it's like Konami want us to play, because this has been reprinted like 3 times in the last 4 months.
Yeah, it's been in every set, I feel, but yeah, no, well worth it. Great card. Card Destruction.
Yeah.
Power 1 of, you don't want to play this against tier, which is most of the decks you're playing against, so we side it instead of maining it. But you put this in against a deck that doesn't, get as much pluses as you do. You activate that, and you just pop off. You just get 5 card effects.
Yeah.
And then you draw 5. It's ridiculous. Then double Lava Golem, 1 for space, just for the card destruction.
You can bounce them back
It's
to
fine.
reuse them.
Yeah, you totally can. He's also a fiend.
Yeah, again, great.
Dark
Dark
Ruler helps going second.
Great card.
Eradicator helps going first. All of your guys are big darks.
Yeah.
Especially into Runic. This card is insane.
Which one is that? Is it the spell?
Declare a spell or trap.
Oh, no.
Blank them all.
Yeah. That's it. Completely happy with it? Would you change anything? Add anything?
I think I would maybe cut 1 puppetry for the 3rd Lava Golem because this came up less than I thought it would. Might have just been because I didn't play against too many tier players.
That's obviously
absolutely happy with the main and extra. Nothing I would change with those. I think the deck is super solid. I think it's quite slept on. And I think once there is a major hit to tier, and a lot of the cards that are played right now to beat tier, like we struggle, not so much, but we struggle a little bit into Bestials and Dweller.
Yeah.
I think once those see, like I'd say they'll still be in the meta, but once they see a little bit less prevalence, I think this deck will really come to shine.
Yeah. Well, that's it. Please check out our links in the description. We'll have more discount codes up soon. It's Christmas. But yeah, please subscribe, like, and all that fun stuff.